Hi, everyone. This is Norman Koshnek here from Eyes on Cricket with Norman Koshnek, and I'm hoping I've got the right link. Yeah, I have. It's just I haven't got any detail on the link, which is interesting. And normally the link's got all this information. I've been joined yet again by a man that's become a regular on the show, David Graveney. How are you, David?
Fine, thanks, Norman. Yeah. Had to switch the heating on. Autumn is landing in the UK, so which is a shame, really. You would want the last two Test matches to be played in blazing sunshine, but we'll see how we go.
All right, actually, I spoke to Jim Maxwell prior to the show. He's actually taping something else at the moment live. I think he had that show that he's got involved with BBC, ABC, and All India Cricket. Yeah. And he's just doing that, but otherwise he would be well. I've actually turned his book around. We've got a very young picture of Jim there.
No, it's quite very good.
Quite amusing. So look, but he's always very keen to join, especially now that he's aware of your connection and he loves the fact that he can talk to you as well. Well, we've got a match on today, haven't we? We've talked a bit about it yesterday about Moeen Ali's inclusion as inclusion in terms of his vice captaincy. But I think that this series is proving to be a very interesting one, is it not?
Yeah, it is actually. It's been a bit of a strange series. Though they're playing back-to-back Test matches, it just feels like there's massive intervals between because there are just other things happening in the world, other things happening sport-wise, Olympic Games. So. It's just been a bit bizarre, really, that you don't sense that it's captured the whole imagination of the country, which, in essence, it should do because you're talking about two of the best teams in the world doing this. So, it just seems to me that, and the Test matches have been really good. I think they've as an event, but somehow you think you're just waiting for it to. Sort of explode, but I think that might be a bit harsh because all three Test matches have ebbed and flowed and ended up with two comfortable victories for either team, and the way that is, then the both Test matches are live, which is really good. I think it's very difficult to call a winner at this stage. We talked about momentum and things like that. I just don't think that can easily dissipate in a very short space of time when you start the next game. So,
look, it probably is. It's certainly not anticlimactic, but I guess the fact that the ease of the victory, well, not the ease, but the turnabout of the victories has made it rather head scratching a little bit. But now we're going to see the pointy end of this Test match, as well as the fifth, if it gets to be played. We'll see more drama, I would imagine.
Well, these last two Test matches have been a bit like playing Australia of old when they were all conquering. But there are times at the beginning of the game when you're reasonably close, and then as the game progresses, it just the margin gets wider and wider and wider, and it implies that Australia dominated from ball one, which wasn't often the case. But it didn't take them too long to gain the initiative. So, it'd be interesting to see what sides are selected. There was a very informative conversation I had with Naresh about the longevity of the coaching staff in the Indian setup. Like, this is implying that that various people are coming to the end of distinguished careers. And there's no doubt that the relationship between Ravi Shastri and Kohli is a very strong one, which it should be. If you're going to have a successful team, coach and captain have got to get on together. And that is probably one of the issues of debate, I think, with the Australian setup at present. Who's getting on with who, I think, would be the question it asks. So.
Look, the very fact that Joe Root has become number one on the ICC ranking will certainly not please the likes of Virat Kohli.
Yeah. I'm just going to say hello to my granddaughter, Norman. Hello.
This
Hello.
is coming in quickly.
Have you got your dress on?
We fell. We're going to have to go.
All right, sorry.
You go. You can.
Hello. Are you going to come and say hello to Norman? No?
Why not?
Why not?
There's a question here about, and I don't know the Indian injured player. If they're referring to the player that may or may not be selected because of the fact they brought young Krishna into the squad, that may be the reason for that question.
Well, I think the question is around. We're guessing, so we don't know. We don't know whether.
No, that's true.
Naresh was talking, is Jadeja injured? Because I haven't read anything. There's nothing that I've said about fitness testing or anything like that.
No.
And Sharma is just, sadly for him, not quite on the money as compared to the other guys. So
simple. I'm going to say a shout out to a friend of mine who's coming all the way from Kenya, Wende. She's joined us. She's very much into cricket. We're certainly around the world these days, aren't we, David? We've got people from amazing. I mean, the reality is cricket is the second most followed or watched sport behind soccer or football, as you may call it. It's intriguing, isn't it? And it's not just based on the Indian population as such. It's more that it has spread throughout the world.
Just people follow it. That, you know, people had a when the broadsheets tended to transfer to online, that actually caused a huge commotion around a certain sector of the population who were just used to studying the scoreboards or the scorecards every day of all the matches, you know, certainly in the UK. So and they could be in a position to quote some extraordinary stats from time to time. So
there's a comment here from Munchie, who you've had on the show with us. Yay, David is lit up. So you've got a better background.
I didn't notice I was in the dark yesterday. So the last time I was on.
Well, maybe you're glowing because of the state of English cricket at the moment. Maybe you're glowing because your under-19s are playing against the West Indies. It's this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, no, on Saturday. That would be good. And great for the West Indies to, you know, make the effort to come over here and that obviously involves parents to be allowed to let their children travel when things are so uncertain around the world. So we're very grateful for that. So that, and I would have to say the West Indies have been outstanding in terms of, I know their cases aren't as great as other parts of the world, but they have entered into, you know, what they did last summer and going into the bubble in Southampton and Old Trafford was outstanding, really, because it's now transpired that is a really difficult way of life for young people. Young people want to get out and see the places they're at, which unfortunately was not allowed. So,
if you had to pick a favourite part of the world to visit, David, to watch cricket, where would that be?
Favorite
and I don't necessarily mean the ground as such. I mean the whole shebang.
I think I quite enjoyed the grounds when they were old. I know I'm old, but you know, when they were full of character. And I fully understand the Australians having to change their grounds to make them more economic to use for other sports. But in some way, they lost, and it's pleasing to know, like for instance, Adelaide. The old scoreboard will always stay there. The bank at that end of the ground will always be the same. You know, the anomaly at Sydney of building something in front of the scoreboard always makes me chuckle, actually. So, but I understand why. But I think probably the one that again, because of my contacts with Queensland, is that, you know, it just looks like another sports stadium. You know, you couldn't tell whether it's actually Queensland or Brisbane or anywhere else, really.
No.
So, and that I fully understand why. You know, that's the same with it. And I would say that Bridgetown in Barbados is exactly the same scenario. It lost a lot of its character as a result of the work that they did there. So, in terms of watching cricket, Australia's a fantastic place to go and watch. It's just that happened all the times I went there, we kept losing all the time. So Australians are not. I had some extraordinary times when Rod Marsh was a selector, and he is obviously very entrenched in Adelaide in terms of friends and whatever. And the whole spectacle of what happens at Adelaide in the Test match is remarkable in terms of, England think, oh, well, because of the nursery end, we do it better than anybody else. I would have to say you need to go to Adelaide to see the tented village they have on the tennis courts behind the pavilion. I met a friend of Rod's who said with great pride, he said, I always come on the Saturday of the Test match. He said, well, you must have seen some great occasions here. He said, I'd have to admit, I have never seen a ball bowled live yet in 15 years. Because I've been in the tent for the whole period of time. So, people enjoy it and the atmosphere is really good. It's and Sri Lanka again is a place to watch, but sadly it's a reducing a number of venues where when you're watching Test match cricket, then you're going to get a full crowd. So you can go to Sri Lanka, and if you watch a one-day international, then the whole place will be chock-a-block. But if you went to watch a day of Test match cricket, fortunately for us, we have a whole army of supporters to go because Sri Lanka is a lovely country. But it becomes expensive for the local population to go, so you don't get that sort of balance between both. And Australia's a little bit like that. I think they and South Africa. I must admit that. I went to watch the Test match in January, where Stokes just with bat and ball just was on a different planet. But the members stand at not the Wanderers at Newlands was full for 2 days, but that was it. It was empty for the other 3 days. It's just weird, really, because I think we're very fortunate in this country. I know the stadiums are much smaller, but they are full. So today, regardless of it being sort of unfavourable weather, there won't be a spare seat anyway.
I remember being in Dominica in the West Indies and watching Australia play the West Indies, and there was absolutely no crowd whatsoever.
Yeah.
There was one bunch of about maybe 10 Aussies who had actually, would you believe, manufactured or somehow purchased the liquor license for the ground in Dominica for the day or for the match, and then brought in bootleg alcohol and were serving it basically to themselves. And you saw everything because there was no other crowd. It was the most hilarious. They became the focus because they were the only crowd we had.
Yeah.
That was a bizarre atmosphere. I found that exciting. And even like an Antigua recreational ground, and that ground was an amazing ground as well. That was often packed. But they're my favourite moments, those bizarre moments, rather than a full crowd.
Well, I'd never been there until they closed it down, actually. I obviously watched the various historic innings. And I'm not sure whether I told you this. Obviously, Jack Russell is a friend of mine because we play in the same team. But he was keeping for England when Lara got 365.
Oh, my God.
And if you remember, the shot that he broke the record was a pull shot that he played. And I said to Jack, I know you don't like cheering the opposition or applauding the opposition, which is a great shame in the game as a whole, actually. But he didn't like doing it because he thought he was making a macho statement. He said, well, actually, in this instance, if you study the wicket closely, if you can, actually Lara trod on his wicket and the bail came out of its groove, one of the grooves, and didn't fall off. So it was like tilted up like that.
Oh, my
God. So he was approaching the wicket from the end. Yes. And just seeing if it was, like a putt on the edge of the hole, people think it's going to fall in or fall out. So he was thinking that the bail will fall off. And said, Jack, you are the luckiest man in the world. If it had fallen off and he was deemed to have trod on his wicket, look out, because there were thousands running onto the pitch to congratulate him and whatever. So in hindsight, you were a very lucky man.
Well, it was meant to be, effectively.
I have been out when practicing in the World Cup. The last time it was 2006, 2007 or something like that. where they were doing a new practice is, Norman, is they do range hitting. So they stand in the middle and try and leather it as far as they can go. And immediately at the end of one end is where all the taxis are. And the drivers all get out and they sit under the tree, having a chat and playing loud games of dominoes, which I'm sure you would have seen in the West Indies. And this was interrupted by a rain of cricket balls that were either landing in the middle, excuse me, in the middle of their domino matches or on top of their cars. So I had to just go around and appease the taxi drivers and get Freddie Flintoff to possibly hit it the other way. So, it's just the power of, well, I don't know if Liam Livingstone was doing that now. I don't know how far he hit it. So, because he's made a huge impact, particularly with young people who saw him bat in the 100-ball game. That actually, they don't want to talk to their parents. They just want to watch Liam Livingstone bat, because it is quite an extraordinary event.
Well, that's a question that we're getting in the commentary here about not just Liam Livingstone, but well, let me get this question for you. It's here somewhere. Which actually talks about Liam Livingstone and Tom Banton is the other.
Yeah, there's another guy called Will Smead who burst onto the scene as well. He's both all three of those have played in the under-19s with me. So.
Yeah, so the question there was, hi, David, why is Test cricket ignored by England's new players as they prefer T20 cricket? Tom Banton, Liam Livingstone. So that's implying that these players have ignored Test cricket and gone straight to T20 in the leagues. I don't know whether they've done that. I think any of them would play for their country if they were given the opportunity.
Yeah, I think that there was a view, and to a certain degree I shared it, that actually the creation of the IPL 12 years ago would cast a shadow over Test match cricket, because the financial rewards were so great that actually people will do, well, I can earn twice as much money for being, away from home for 50% of the time. So why wouldn't I entertain that? And that's, the white ball specialist has been created as a result of the IPL, and that's across the whole world, really. So it is and it's going to be a very difficult thing to balance, because I think you're going to have to make the financial rewards for playing Test match cricket, and people will say, well, that's just representing your country. But I think people have to understand you're only here once, and an international career now doesn't last as long as it used to last. I know that Jimmy keeps on playing on, but a decision was made around him about one-day cricket, which probably was the right decision. So it's not necessarily a choice of playing white ball cricket. I do think it's very difficult, successful white ball players to transfer over to playing red ball cricket. It's a different scenario. I think for batters, it's really difficult for them to come from an environment where they're trying to hit every single ball to an environment actually where they're trying to leave it. And I think that's beginning to affect quite a lot of batsmen, whether it be Joss Butler, for instance, had I think people had to say to him, look, just play the way you normally play. If you're batting at 7, you can change the course of the game. Don't try and convert yourself into a dull Test match batsman. And in some ways, I think Virat Kohli is in the same boat. Though I would have to say, when he plays white ball cricket, he plays it conventionally. He doesn't play any fancy shots. He just plays proper shots very well. I think it's just the fact that you've got to hit the ball or put bat on ball all the time. I think makes it really difficult to transfer back to the other game.
But there's a lot of merit in playing your natural game, and perhaps being more aggressive when it's needed is a more natural way of playing all three formats, I should say. I think that's one of the things that like Coley, Steve Smith, Williamson, when they play all three platforms or formats, they tend not to change too much. They just maybe go up a gear. Even Rohit Sharma's done the reverse. Rohit Sharma has become so much well adapted to the short game that he's now had to adjust to Test cricket. But he's done it really well. He
has shown that actually you can do that, which I think is to his enormous credit. You know, he would have been playing Test match cricket, and the opposition would have said, right, he's a fantastic player, and he hits the ball really well, but we know he's going to go one shot too many. I think the way that he played, as you highlighted in the last Test match, was, you know, a great show of discipline and patience. It was just it was a bit of an odd way for him to get out. Actually, I think he was just surprised by Overton being, you know, tall and bowling a bit quicker than he thought he could bowl. Actually, so
no, it's quite intriguing. The evolution is probably the most impressive thing so far in the series from an Indian batting perspective. Of course, Rahul's performance was great early on in the series, but Rohit Sharma's performance throughout has been extremely commendable. He needs to be the first batsman selected now, the way he's playing.
Yeah, and I think if there will be a change to captaincy. There's nothing more, and I'm not saying it's this week or next week. At some stage down the line, there will be a change, and he's definitely put himself in the marketplace to be the next captain, because he does quite a good job with Mumbai Indians, doesn't he? So.
Oh well, he certainly has. He's won major trophies by doing that. I'm still not sure how old he is. I'm just trying to work on his age. I think he's in his 30s now, but he wouldn't be much past that. Let's have a look. I'm going to double check his age. Maybe someone on air can show me what his age is. But Rohit Sharma, let's have a look. Oh, he's 34. 34.
So same age as
34.
34, isn't he?
I didn't think he was that old, but that's still not. These days, that's you can play longer. He's only played 42 tests, which is not that many at all.
Yeah.
ODI is 227 and T20 International 111. So
what time are you to tonight, Norman? What's your timings?
Tonight? You mean the post show? It'll be straight after the match. It'll be 6:30.
I might have to peel off. This is my wife's birthday today, so.
Okay, well, please,
right.
I understand. If you can come back later, do so. But thank you, David.
No,
I'm glad you can.
No, pleasure. So we'll catch up later, and then I'll send you an email in the meantime about the other
what you told me.
Talking off air, if that's okay.
I'll have a good look at that. Okay. Thanks, David.
All right. So I'll see you later.
Thank you, David. 20 minutes with David Graveney is worth an hour in most other people's cases. It's great to have him on. He's a very important part of the show and provides an insight into English cricket, not only the previous years of cricket over many decades, but also the current makeup. He was heavily involved with the under-19 selection of the team that's actually together now to play against the West Indies this weekend in England. So he was heavily a part of it. He's leaving a heavy imprint on the young players coming through. He nurtures them to the extent with the Curran brothers, Tom and Sam. He had them in his home. He had a lot to do with, I believe, Billings as well, and quite a few other players. He's nurtured them in a way which is quite interesting. Just to let you know as well, not only is there the start of the England-India Test match, so the fourth Test match at the Oval in South London, there's also a ODI, the first ODI between Sri Lanka and South Africa, starting in only 29 minutes. So it'll start, in fact, before the Test match starts, and that's in Colombo at the main stadium there in Colombo. So that's Premadasa Stadium, in fact. So that game is between Sri Lanka and South Africa, and ODI. Both teams will need to get their act together, I think, because they're both probably lowly rated as far as the T20 World Cup is concerned, but they're playing together now. And I think there's also another match between Ireland and Zimbabwe, which is taking place also today. It's actually the fourth T20 International. So we've also obviously got the match which is just taken place between New Zealand and Bangladesh. Of course, Bangladesh has yet again beaten a major side. They knocked off Australia some 4-1, and now they've beaten New Zealand the very first match, again on their surface under their conditions with a spinning ball. So clearly it isn't in their favour, but still it's a pretty commendable effort from those countries. Yes, Ricky Tech and Norman is low. Not much. Jason Roy in the last Ashes struggled opening. Yes, but yeah, is that what I get what you're talking about. He has had a great moustache. I don't mind Livingston or Banton playing white ball cricket because they have to feed their families. That's true. It is about, don't forget, these are occupations for these people. William Walsh is asking, hi there, who is the photo in the top right-hand corner of the photo? In fact, that is myself with Sachin Tendulkar, some, what is now 6 years ago, and that was at a place called, it's in Watson's Bay in Sydney on the harbour, near the south head of the harbour there, Watson's Bay, and it's at a very, very famous restaurant called Doyle's Seafood Restaurant, Doyle's, the family Doyle's, which has owned the restaurant for 136 years, I think it is. The one family's had that restaurant, it's a seafood restaurant where they bring the fish in by boat into the restaurant so they can sell it over time. I brought Sachin Tendulkar and 50 people, which were from the SCG 11, the Sydney Cricket Ground 11, which is a club not unlike the Marleybone Cricket Club, the MCC, which belongs to Lords. Very similar history. In fact, I was just talking to Greg Healy off air. Greg Healy is, of course, the father of Alyssa Healy, who's the Australian women's cricketer, and her husband, which is Greg's stepson, is, or son-in-law, I should say, son-in-law is Mitchell Starc, who plays for Australia. And of course, Greg Healy's brother is Ian Healy, who was the wicketkeeper for Australia for a number of years. So quite a proud family. And he and I were talking about some of the history of the SCG, looking at most valuable players and some of the history of numbering of the players out the year, which is a great tradition, and we hope to continue that. That's the SCG 11. And some of you may know about that, viewers. So that's the photo of William Walsh. That was of me at the SCG 11 function that I basically created with another fellow. And our guest of honour was Sachin Tendulkar. So, Munchie, right, to get into the test squad, the guys need to show themselves in the 4-day red ball games. If they can score in both ball colour games, they will get a chance. It's true. They need to be red ball worthy. Yeah, Walsh, that is 10 o'clock. Butler gets out in a weird way, gets bowled a lot, fake shots. Okay, well, Butler's not there at the moment, not because of form, but because more so of his pending the child that's about to be given, his wife's about to give birth. So, happy birthday, Mrs. G. Munchie, it was later me. I should have welcomed that while David's wife was on air. Can Munchie come in? Well, Ray, ask Munchie whether Munchie wants to get in. I'm not sure whether I've sent Munchie the link. Because I know a partner saying he's joining me shortly, and we may have Gurkha Gill and a few others joining me a bit later. But Munchie, have I sent you the link? Multitasking, so we won't bother. Okay. India has been written off completely, your views. Well, Daksh Ashwal, I don't think India have been written off at all. In fact, India, with the strengthening of their lineup, you would argue strengthening their lineup, with Ashwin included, on a spinning deck at the Oval, will be certainly favoured. I think his inclusion will be quite significant. Whether India go about changing their batting order by dropping one of their players, Amy Rahane, that's the big question. I don't think so. I think they're going to keep Rahul opening, and they're going to keep both Pujara and Rahane in the side, and their Kohli will be batting four as per normal. Punt in different form will also be there. Jadeja, if fit, and that's the only question I've got, whether he's fit, will be playing. Ashwin will come in for Ishant Sharma. Whether Thakur's coming in as well, we'll wait and see. And whether Bumrah and Sharma are fit, they'll be in the side as well. As we've seen, the likelihood of Krishna coming in replacement is unlikely, but he's there with Siraj as well. So I don't see any true Indian changes other than Ashwin at this point. I think Rahane will retain his spot. Jadeja will if fit, and as I said, Ishant Sharma will be replaced by Ashwin. That is the prediction of the Indian line. Very few changes actually at all. With England, of course, Noah Ellie's been confirmed as the vice captain. Butler is out because of his wife's pregnancy, and they're saying Ollie Pope will be included. But I'll wait and see on that one, because it may not be Ollie Pope. It may well be maybe they might bring Chris Wokes into the side and have Sam Curran also in the side, and keep Robinson, Anderson, and Overton in the side, therefore strengthen their bowling, but also adding another batting all-rounder to the side in place of Butler, which could well be, again, don't forget Butler was a keeper. So the reality is they don't necessarily have to replace the keeper with another batsman. They can replace them with potentially an all-rounder. So I wouldn't be shocked if Chris Wokes gets a Guernsey and Curran's left in the side. We'll wait and see. Otherwise, it'll be Ollie Pope coming in and Wokes coming in for Curran, with Curran missing out and obviously Butler. So yeah, there's a few of the changes. We'll go through that in a bit more detail in a minute. I'm, I'm still keen on seeing this. Still keen on seeing the size actually, but we've got a bit of time before that happens. Not a lot of discussion about the side. Clearly, they talk about players to watch out for now. Joe Root, certainly. Rory Burns, is he a player to watch out for? I guess he is. Rohit Sharma and Rishabh Pant in form certainly are. Anderson Robinson certainly, and Ashwin. Now they're saying Akshar Patel. Now I don't know whether Akshar Patel is going to have much of an opportunity to play. The umpires are Alex Wharf and Richard Illingworth. TV umpires Michael Goff. Reserve umpire is Mike Burns with match referee Chris Broad. This will in fact be the 2,433rd Test match ever. 2,433. I think Jim Maxwell's seen about 350 on this. Is a lot. Really, it's a historic. It's a historic match for a lot of reasons. Why? Because the reality is you're playing at the Oval, which is, other than Lord's, probably the second most prestigious ground in England, both in London, of course. But I think there's a lot to be said about the Oval. The Oval, with that characteristic gas cylinder, water cylinder, whatever it is, that thing in the corner, I think that is amazing. The only reason why I've gone with Vihari for Jadeja in India needs depth in the batting. Bowlers are always live up to their standard. And how long will Prasad wait in the wind? Prasad Singh's just he's just joined, hasn't he, Krishna? So I don't know. He'll be there for a while. I think Jadeja, if you're saying that Vihari will replace it, if that is the case, Ashwin will definitely come in for Ishant. Is that a good situation? There's a lot to be said about the makeup of these teams. What a run Rahul Dravid had in 2011 England tour. He scored 3 times. Never seen any batsman that looked as comfortable as he did. Very disciplined player. Not unlike Pujara, really. Cricket legend wants to know Warne or Murali. It's always going to be Shane Warne for me. I mean, despite Murali's great wicket-taking efforts, despite the wicket-taking efforts of Murali, you'd have to say Warne had that spark. Puranjay Shadu says hello. What are your thoughts on the 4th test? Well, again, this is meant to be bowler-friendly, so you would assume that if India win the toss, they'll bat first and probably hopefully bat better than their 70-odd that they got in the first innings of the last test. You'll probably see India bat first, and they'll want to use Ashwin towards the 2nd and 4th innings, the last innings. So that would be the prediction of India win the toss. And if England win the toss, I think they will bat first, which will throw that out of whack of it. Yes, the wicket does have a lot for wet spinners. The weather's quite murky. It's not perfect by the sound of it. Surprised no one has asked about the weather anyhow. Well, I just did. Looks to be mainly dry for the 5 days. Low chance of rain, but that's no guarantee. It'll be cloudy first thing, getting brighter, bat first. And that's what hopefully India will win the toss and bat first and bat with a lot more strength. So it's sunny. Pitch is certainly dry with a spinning touch to it for sure. Yeah, Munchy, good timing, certainly. Is there any moisture? It doesn't look like it. Munchy come live. We're asking Munchy to come live several times. Okay, so Tom Whitten Davies. The 5th day is usually offers spin in the Oval. Ashwin got a 6 for Surrey this year. The reality is that Ashwin's a certainty to play. Bat first or bowl. It looks as though England will probably bat first, and so will India. That's the toss selections. Your team is Rahul, Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, Vihari, Ashwin, Pant, Prasad, Salami, and Sharaj. So you're dropping not Rahane, but you're actually dropping Jadeja and Ishant Sharma and Bumrah. Okay. As a bat first deck. Okay. So India go with 3 paces and 2 spin. Well, it sounds like they're only going to have the 1 spin in there. I think they're going to play both Ashwin and Jadeja. I don't think Jadeja's going to be dropped by any means. By any means at all. At all. I think Jadeja's definitely. Just having to text one of the guests. Okay. While talking about rotation and resting bowlers in the post-match press conference, did Virat Kohli give a hint that he'll be resting Butler? No, there was no hint at all, actually. It sounds to me there'll be minimal change with Ashwin coming in for Ishant Sharma. That's almost the only change that I'm saying. Getting Siddharth Norman. Now, Siddharth's, I don't know where Siddharth is. Let me see if I can grab Siddharth. Siddharth's probably working from home. We're going to be joined by Parna very shortly. I'm going to give so Siddharth's not here at the moment. So my Indian team, okay, let's look at Puranjay's team. He's got Rohit, Rahul, Pujara, Kohli, Fahari, Rahane, Sky. Sky, I don't think is coming in. Panchadeja, Ashwin, Shami, Bumrah, Sara. So really, there's only the one position up for grabs. We're saying there, well, no, you've got two. You actually dropped Ishant Sharma, definitely, and you're tossing up whether to have Fahari, Rahane, or Sky. Well, that's basically telling me that Rahane's staying, to be honest. My Indian team for the Ellis were Tim Wilton, Davies thinks. Rahul, Rohit, Pujara, Kohli, Agarwal. Okay, bringing Agarwal into the lower middle order to replace Rahane. Jadeja, Punt, Ashwin, Shami, Bumrah, Sarai. So you've got also Ishant Sharma out. There's the only one question is Rahane, and I don't think he's going to be dropped. Not that there's no, there's going to be a lot of yeah. So all right, we've got a good some time to go. We've got the Sri Lankan South Africa match. Just as a bit of an aside here, the first ODI was happening at Premadasa Stadium. Sri Lanka has actually won the toss and chosen to bat in that match. So that's pretty much starting as we speak. So you'd have to, well, it's interesting. You'd have to think South Africa would be favourites, even though it's on Sri Lanka's home turf. Yes, all right. Shardul and Ashwin in for Jadeja and Ishant. Okay, that's going to be interesting. Abhishek Sharma, the more I think about it, the more I do like that. But Jadeja's fielding is the thing that really worries me. Without him there, he's losing big time in fielding position. So, England team for the Oval, okay. Burns, Hamid, Milan, Root, Pope, Bairstow, Moen, Robertson, Wood, Leach, Anderson. Now, so you're dropping Sam Curran. Yeah, there's no Chris Wokes in that lineup, which I think, Tim, is going to happen. Wood may still not be fit. And Overton's out as well. Yeah, that's leaving them with two spinners and three. Yeah, I tend to think we're going to find that Overton's still on the side and Wokes will be on the side. But that's what I'm thinking. Don't think Agarwal would come in by any chance. Bahari is ideal choice for running. Everyone to run, and that's the question. Yeah, it's an interesting thought. I don't know whether whether in fact Bumrah or Shami are getting rested. They may be injured. Well, we're going to find out, aren't we? At this point, I don't know. By the way, guys, the only people that can actually make comments today are those that are actually subscribers. Those people who are making comments here today are subscribers. So you may see a few comments because some of the people that normally would make comment have to be a subscriber to make comments. Just letting you know, anyone watching, you have to be a subscriber for, I think it's 20 minutes to be able to then be given access to be able to make comments. So I think I've just tried that because I guess it's a little bit annoying when someone's making comments but not actually subscribing. Well, not annoying, but it would be nice if you justified there by show some positioning to be able to me to answer your questions as if you actually subscribe, which takes one click of one button, no cost. So that's what you might find. There are somewhat less people making comments. My England team is Burns. Okay, we've gone through that one. Yeah, no, I haven't. In this particular Puranjay side, he has Burns, Hamid again, Milan, Root, Pope or Billings, okay. Well, it won't be Billings and Best. I think Besto's keeping, so he'll be Moen, Wokes, Curran, Robinson, Anderson, Wood. Okay, so you're taking out Overton there from that side. Yeah, interesting. Ishton Sharma certainly will be missing out the 11. So I think Ishton Sharma's out to be dropped effectively, and Ashwin will come in, but that doesn't necessarily immediately put Krishna in. I'm curious. I think Krishna is there still as a backup. I don't think he's going to jump. Why would he jump over Umesh Yadav? Umesh Yadav would probably deserve his go first, I would argue. So that's very nice. It's got it. Okay, we already had paces in Shidal. You must why bring Christian. I agree. Some injuries that what we don't know of. I must be something more going on. There must be. It could even be more than one. Maybe there is in fact 2 players that are carrying injury. Jadeja, I believe, is carrying injury. He went off the field in the last match, so there's every chance that he's effectively there in that situation. So yeah, I'd say there's a very good chance. A very good chance. Okay. India bowling lineup today. Ashwin, Shardul, Krishna, Umesh Yadav. Oh my God, that's quite a mouthful of players there. I don't think Yadav and Krishna will come in, but we just don't really know. There may be more injuries than we suspect. If Ashwin and Jadeja come in, not Salvador, then and Krishna, that means 3, 4, if not 4 players. That's a lot. I don't think there's going to be that many changes. Okay, Rohit and Rahul, Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, or Vihari, Jadeja, Ashwin, Shami, Bumrah, and Ishant. Your thoughts? Well, I don't think Ishant Sharma is going to survive it. No, I don't think he'll be surviving it. So you've got Bumrah and Shami in there as well. So who was the person missing out there? Bumrah, Shami, Ishant's in the side. So Siraj, no, Siraj is staying right where he is. He's not playing. I think that I agree with that. Is tall and can bowl quick and swing the ball. I think that's the main reason behind it. Well, let's just see whether he's actually brought into the side. I don't know. It'll be look. It's possible. We're going to be finding out in another roughly half an hour. We're going to be finding exactly who's in and out. I may even get the team list. Earlier. Let's just see if there's no evidence of any team list yet, but there's sometimes a team list which you do get earlier, and we'll see when that comes out. I'll let you know immediately. Bumrah's perhaps been going to be rested, but it'll be based on injury. Jadeja's the only one that seemed to have an injury. Shami was a little bit lame. Ishant Sharma certainly was, so he's out based on form more than injury, I believe. Yeah, let's wait and see. Well, it won't be long, guys, before we'll find that out. I'm waiting on a few people turning up. Obviously, we have a part of us here who'll be providing us as a media person, should be providing us with commentary. I'm just wondering what. It'll be very interesting to see what they actually do. There's always interest in selections, and the fact that they don't tell you until the last minute is rather always a bit of an intrigue. It's almost it may well be that there's no advantage as such telling them early. In this case, this is injury based rather than anything else. So you'd have to wonder about the delay to the so-called selection here. All right. Okay, George DeBell has confirmed the weather is fair with the teams out in the field practicing and the light straw-coloured pitch roped off from the rest of the square. So there's no evidence of any covering of the wicket, so play will start on time. The expectation from England is that Chris Wokes will be back in the test side for the first time in more than a year, probably in a partnership with the ageless James Anderson, to form a tidy-looking seam attack alongside Overton and the series breakout star, Ollie Robinson. Ollie Pope is likely to return on the home turf in place of Josh Butler. So that's pretty predictable. But if Chris Wokes is in, it does appear like Sam Curran will be the one to miss out. For India, of course, it's the usual Ashwin or Ash won't question. I like that. Ashwin or Ash won't? Ash will or Ash won't? I like that. Ash will or Ash won't? I like that. So rather cheeky way of putting it. Virat Kohli insists India won't budge from a 5-man attack, meaning Rishabh Pant at 6 and probably Jadeja at 7. Could they play 3 seamers and 2 spinners? It's a bit ambitious, but not out of the question. So the reality is that Ashwin's in, but for whom? Ishant Sharma. Is that the only change? It could well be the only change in this particular team, which shouldn't shock anyone. They've been very consistent with their team all the way through. Just Kohli selected him. He's a part of the selection panel with obviously an actual selection committee, but on top of that, Shastri has a say as well. So we've talked about that 6-7 change between Jadeja and Punt. The reality is, and David Gravely made this point, they won't change that batting order because it'll send both batsmen into an element of confusion as to whether they've done good or bad. And I think that may well be the case. They're going to stick to those two. Whereas Don Bessie is one of the good spinners all round. Well, he didn't do that well in India either, actually. Didn't do that well. Did okay in Sri Lanka, but I think Rhett Leach is in front of him. But Moeen Ali's usurped them all. He's not only usurped them, he's the vice captain. Yeah, it's Kohli with Shastri and other team management, the other so-called selection committee, which is effectively, there is a chairman of selectors of sorts in the Indian makeup. So that's a point. Sam Billings, of course, has come in, I'd say, as a sort of keeper, not as the keeper. Dan Lawrence, I don't even know why he's there, to be honest. Very honest with you. Siddharth has joined us.
Hey, Norman. Hi, Norman. How are you?
I'm very well.
How's the situation there now? Slightly better or still bad?
In terms of weather?
Weather, COVID?
Well, the case is up to 1,200 a day. There's been more. We've reached 100 deaths in this little spike of late, which doesn't sound huge, but it is in the scheme of things. Then, of course, they're predicting 3,000 or 4,000 in October a day, heading into 10,000. So even though we've got supposedly 66% of people with the first jab, which doesn't mean the second jab, of course, we're a long way from sufficiently covered. It won't be before the end of the year. The Ashes series is in some sort of jeopardy in terms of location.
Yeah.
Not, it may all be played in Darwin or Queensland, for God's sake. I don't quite know.
Why not keep it in Hobart? They've never hosted an Ashes test before.
The Hobart's pretty much got a COVID problem. So is Victoria. So Tasmania, Victoria, New South Wales, SAWA, kind of really northern Queensland, if they're going to be extremely pedantic. But I'm over this whole thing. We're all frustrated as all hell, as you would have been as well. Look at Jim Maxwell there, a young Jim Maxwell. Is that very young Jim Maxwell.
Yeah.
All right, I need your lowdown. Sid, who is in and out of your Indian team?
Oh boy, this is you've put me in a spot right with a very difficult question. Who's in and who's out? Look, we all are thinking that Virat Kohli will make some changes because normally he does make changes. I think before the Leeds test, he had played with an unchanged 11 for only the 4th time in his captaincy stint ever, consecutive tests. Now, when we want him to make changes, he's not making any changes. I think for me, the straight swipe, Ashwin in. You have to get Ashwin in at the Oval because it'll be a dry wicket. You can play 2 spinners at the Oval. So get Ashwin in, maybe drop Ishant. That's the only change I see that will happen. That should happen. Because even if you have to look at it, both teams still have got good momentum. Yes, England won by an innings in Leeds, but England, Wokes is coming back. That'll be a big boost. Chris Wokes is back.
So, there's no doubt he's back.
So that is why I feel that both teams still are on an even keel. So get Ashwin in, you add that balance a bit more. You get rid of Ishant, play Siraj, Bumrah, Shami, that's your best bowling lineup. You've got depth.
So
you've got
effectively, one change. You're saying one change
one
to
change.
the overall side.
Yep.
Okay. So is there any truth to the rumor that there is a player, another bowler, not Ishant, but another bowler about to be, we'll say rested, but probably carrying a nickel between Bumrah, Shami, and less likely Siraj?
You're not off the mark. You're not off the mark, because why would the BCCI issue a press release stating that Prasidh Krishna has been drafted as a precautionary measure? For what? Is it for Bumrah? Most likely for Bumrah. For Shami? For whom? For Siraj? We don't know. For Ishant? We don't know. Why is there another bowler being added as a precautionary measure when there's already 2-3 people still there? Like Arzan Nagwaswala is there. He was there ever since the start of the World Test Championship final. I don't know what's happening, but
it is a bit bizarre, isn't it? It was a bit bizarre.
It is bizarre.
And
There is a question being asked for me, like, what is my playing 11? My playing 11 is simple. Rohit, Rahul, Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, Pant, Ravi Jadeja, Ashwin, Siraj, Bumrah, Shami. That is my playing 11.
Yeah, I would argue that's the predictable. No, I shouldn't use the word predictable, but it is somewhat predictable. That's what you would expect them to do, because Kohli made it quite clear that there wasn't much change going on. He called it noise about the need to change. So that's probably the most steadiest of 11s for sure.
Yep.
But it almost smacks of a World Test Championship 11, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, you had Shubman at that time in the World Test Championship as the opener. Now, it was Rohit and Shubman. Now you have Rahul in that. So that's one solidity factor added in that. But Siraj didn't play the World Test Championship final. It was Ishant. When Siraj should have been there in that playing 11. So it's a weird conundrum. It depends on the surface and probably the weather. Ashwin was denied by the weather in Lords. I hope he's not denied by the weather here at the Oval. I think it's clear there is no chance for rain, I suppose, in these.
No, there's a bit of overcast, but it's clear.
Oh no, not again. Not again.
Yeah.
Then
Munchie
if it's overcast, then
okay. If Virat Kohli wins his second test toss in a row, what should happen? What should he do?
Bat.
He has to bat, even though they got 78 last time they did it. Yeah.
Yes.
They have to bat.
You have to bat because you put pressure, and imagine the Oval, which is a dry wicket, it's crumbling. Chasing in the fourth innings will be incredibly hard. So you will have to bat. Okay, but then the advantage is negated if, suppose, even in Leeds, there wasn't much extravagant movement. It was a pretty flat deck. But as I told you, in the Sena countries, the Indian batting nowadays seems to have one session where they collapse like anything. 8 for 63 in Leeds. They collapse regularly in New Zealand. In Australia, they don't seem to collapse. The one time they collapsed, they lost. That was 36 all out. But apart from that, that session of collapses that has plagued them in England, that has to end. Only then they have a chance. Otherwise, they don't have a chance.
There's some discussion. There was an article by, I think it was one of the Quick Info guys, Samuddin, about Rahane, and basically talked about he's showcased Rahane and actually said that he was an inseparable part of the team. And we mustn't forget his vice captaincy role and the steadying influence he had aside. I think people forget that, don't they? That he has a major role to play there, even though they got both Rohit and Pujara as well. They probably do lean on Rahane more than we actually imagine. Yep. And some of the younger bowlers, in fact, may look to him if it's a calming influence. So yeah, it's intriguing. There's never been any question out of either Rohit's, out of both Kohli's or Shastri's or any of the selectors' mouths about any batting changes whatsoever. And Kohli made it really clear. I think it was last test. It's all noise around those players. They're more than happy with the players that are in there. And let's not forget, these two had 100-run parts from the second match where they ended up winning. And Rahane got out cheaply, but Pujara got 91. So it's hard to, I mean, really, if you look at the England batting lineup, they did very well. But, other than Root, there's not a hell of a lot going on there that, you can get overly excited about. So anyway, I think India, I think you're right. I think, to me, Ishan's form was pretty poor, if that's the way of looking at it. But it's more important that Ashwin comes in, I think, than anything else. Yeah, so... And England, what's your thoughts there? I mean, they're talking about Chris Wokes. He'll have to come in based on what they're expecting out of him.
Yep. He gives you great depth in the batting as well as in the bowling. So Wokes is my straight fit in. But in Leeds, more importantly, something happened which has not happened in the previous 8 or 9 tests for England. The top 4 contributed. Apart from Root, Hamid hit a 50, Burns hit a 50, Bairstow also contributed. So if the England top order fires, because remember, there'll be no Butler now. From now till October, there's no Josh Butler. So Bairstow will keep. And apparently when he keeps, his batting average improves.
Well, there you go. That's impressive. I think very highly of Bairstow. I think he's got the temperament for Test cricket, and he knows he's been there for 75 tests, for God's sake.
Yeah. Indeed.
After playing with your country for 75 test matches, you know what to do. You've got a pretty good understanding of what to do, I think. And yeah, I always wondered why they experimented with him as a non-keeper, because he's a very competent keeper, very, very competent keeper. There's a lot to be said about his keeping. In fact, Butler's caught well. He had fairly straightforward catches, but he doesn't overly excite me with his keeping, really. I mean, I don't think he's exceptional. He is, let's be honest, a true one-day player. His batting performances have usually been opening up as a batter or higher order. Yeah, anyway, it's intriguing to see what I'll do. Chris Wokes is definitely one that's in, probably for Curran. But otherwise, and Pope, I haven't seen Pope do well in any format. They keep telling me that he's done well and that he proves himself time and time again, but I don't necessarily think that Pope's got any runs on the board in the true sense of the word to claim himself to be in the side. And I don't know whether he hasn't burst his way through the door to be in the side, if you ask me.
Yep.
I would argue they could even have kept Sam Curran and put Wokes in who can bat and bowl. Only adds to the England bowling lineup.
Why don't you drop Craig Overton to fit in both Curran and Wokes?
Yeah, I just wonder. I wonder if it's conclusive that Curran's going for Wokes, because that's almost implying that Curran was warming the seat while Wokes was getting back from injury, and I don't think that was the case either. So it's intriguing. There's so many negatives, I think, from adding in Ollie Pope, because if Ollie Pope doesn't fire, he does nothing else.
Yeah.
He doesn't bowl. He doesn't seem to have anything about him that impresses me enough, even though he's got some, runs on the board and games leading up to it. I haven't seen any evidence of it at this point, so I don't have much faith in him.
Look, you have to play. Again, I don't know the composition and how the pitch will be at the Oval this time around, but if Moeen Ali is your one spinner, then will you play 2 spinners? Does England have 2 spinners? Apart from
they have got 2 spinners in terms of, but not necessarily in the side, do they? They're not necessarily here on the side. So, I don't know. I mean, they've got. Well, Leach is not on the side. He was let go back to county or whatever format of cricket he's playing.
That's very, very surprising. Very surprising.
Yeah, Tim Wilton Davies, who's making a lot of commentary now, is saying that Curran is out of form, bad batting and bowling. Well, batting, you would argue, yes, but bowling wasn't too bad.
He did redeem himself at Leeds.
I've changed something today, which will get rid of, hopefully, the spammers, because I've actually only allowed those that are subscribers to comment. If you're not a subscriber, you can't comment, which is intriguing, because that, people don't seem to want to subscribe for some reasons. Who comment, that is. Okay. Yeah. So when Root comes, should Ashwin bowl? And can we try out Ashwin? because with little moisture, he can get the bounce open the bowling. So he could actually open the bowling with Bumrah. Would they do? They on occasion to put Bumrah as an open. No, sorry, Ashwin as an open, haven't they? When it comes to, well, certainly short formats.
I mean, look, you've got a left-hander, Rory Burns. Get Ashwin in, get that drift in straight. He's gone. You won't expect anybody opening. And remember, Ashwin's a very competent new ball bowler. If you have to look at it as a spinner, he bowls brilliantly with the new ball. So why not get him in? And when Root comes, yes, I'll tell fans everything that the perception that Ashwin is just a subcontinent bowler. No, it's changed. The numbers might not reflect, but the impact that he has on the Fab 3 is great. He got Steve Smith out cheaply so many times in Australia until he was fit. He's gotten Williamson out so many times. Had it not been that 1 millimeter in that World Test Championship final, who knows? Who knows? India could have defended 139. We don't know.
No.
And he's got a great record against Root as well. So why not pick him at this point of the series?
Do you think Ashwin would have made any impact in the third match at Leeds?
I think he would have made an impact in every match that he would have played in.
Yeah,
because he is not a condition bowler anymore. He can adapt in any condition that he can because he's accurate. He won't give you loose balls that frequently. He's an accurate bowler, and accuracy does not depend upon the condition. It will work in any condition.
So having said that, though, then if what you're saying is what the selectors thought, that he should have been every single test so far.
Yes. If I was a selector, I would a straight shot, get Ashwin in because he's much more lethal.
I think they were wounded by the World Test Championship. They had both Jadeja and Ashwin on the side, and they believed it was not effective enough, and they changed. And they believed they should have more faster swing bowlers on the side, and that was their conclusion. And in the first test, in particular, and somewhat in the second test, they were right. Bumrah took 9 and Siraj took 8. The third test, the bowlers probably didn't get as much success, and hence they lost. So that's interesting. It's an interesting point. So they're talking here. There may feel.
I think what is happening is, Norman, I think what is happening is the team management has a lot more faith in Jadeja's batting and fielding ability. That is why they are picking him more often. They somehow don't seem to have any confidence in Ashwin's fielding ability. But as a batsman and as a bowler, he has utility and value. But again, as you said, the World Test Championship final probably hurt them big time in their composition. So that's the template or the blueprint that they're preparing. I don't know. We'll never know what's the template, though. We will never know.
No. It's funny, though, because Joe Root started using the word template in his last press conference, which actually annoyed me because is he just saying it because Virat said it? Has he got the word template because Virat used it? Because he's never used the word template before. And I'm scratching my thinking, why are you using the word template? No one uses the word template. Just quickly, there's a person looking at the ground there at the Oval, looking at the training session and looking at it with an eagle eye. And their observations are that Ishant Sharma is doing a lot less than his standard preparation for when he bowls, which implies he's just hanging around the playing group. And they're also observing that Bumrah is doing significantly less around the playing group as well. So that's a very broad brushed observation, but Ishant Sharma looks to be just hanging around in the squad but not playing.
You have a conundrum. You have a conundrum now because the series is evenly poised. You've got 2 tests to go and they are back to back. 2nd to 6th, 10th to 14th. Immediately after that, you go to the IPL. Immediately after that, you go to the World T20. Even for England, they also go immediately into the World T20 and immediately into the Ashes if it happens. How do you preserve them? Because if you play continuously like this for 3 months, you're bound to get injured in the long run.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You cannot, I mean, come on. England will definitely not have one eye on Australia right now. It's impossible. They will already be, their minds will already be in Australia. Their heart will be in England. Their minds are already in Australia for the Ashes.
Yeah. Okay. If that's the case, Steve Harmonson's pretty broadside comment that he said that the next test, the 5th test, will be Anderson's last, is an intriguing one. I actually think if Anderson truly wants to complete a series, okay, I think he will let people know that he's doing so because he wants a lot of fanfare, as anyone would. But he's also very stubborn, not wanting to go. I just hope he doesn't get ousted. He certainly is not going to get ousted now, but in the future, if his form dips, it may lead to that, which would be devastating, quite frankly.
I would want Anderson to go on till at least 700 wickets. He can do it with the way how he's going. He can do it.
Well, he'll have to play at least until this time next year, at least.
Yep.
Quite possibly into another season, because he's got to get 78 wickets, which is he'd have to break all records if he gets them in a 12-month period. Let's be honest, even though there's a national series, 78 wickets is pretty phenomenal. He doesn't have to beat Warren to be the best fast bowler in the world.
Yeah,
statistically, he's achieved that. But I'd be curious whether he wants that one over Australia, have a record over Australia. That could motivate him because he's got a pretty deep hatred of, I would argue, Australia for sure. So,
but I think he doesn't need to prove anything. He played a huge part in that 2010-11 series win. He was fantastic in that.
I mean, a man gets 7 fifers at Lords. He's got his name on the board 7 times. I think you've done your job. Come on.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
Okay. Yeah, interestingly, India's men's team aren't playing to T20 against England a month before the World Cup. Well, there's word that they're going to announce the World Cup squad after this test match. Is that right? The Indian squad. Did you hear that?
Maybe. But there'll not be any major surprises. The core is there. We're not expecting any major things. Surya Kumar might be an addition. Ishan Kishan will be an addition. Prithvi Shaw will come in. But the core has still remained intact.
Well, that begs another question because the IPL starts September 19th, I believe.
Yes.
And this particular test, it's not this one, the 5th test match is going to finish on the 14th. So for them to fly from England, I'm assuming straight to Dubai, and there is a need to have a 6-day quarantine on arrival. I don't know whether the players get excluded from that. I'm assuming they don't. Then that means the players and the test team will be excluded from the IPL if it's the first match. So Sky and the like, even Prithvi Shaw or whomever's there that is not selecting the 5th test will be on the next plane well before the test match starts, I think. You'd think to get that. Jesus, overlapping something horrid, isn't it? And then straight
all of us, if we have to cover, Norman, if you have to go to Dubai to cover the games, even we also have to be in 6-day quarantine, despite getting both shots done. I just don't know why.
Well, I'm kind of still in the process of planning that. I've been talking to Debash and a few other people about that. I think the deadline for ICC accreditation is September 15th. So, but I need certain paperwork and that. So I'm going to try. We'll see how we go. I mean, at the moment, Australia's not letting anyone move out of their own suburb, let alone get on a plane.
Yep.
Would you go to the World Cup?
Fingers crossed.
You're actually putting your accreditation.
Yep. But again, there is a lot of confusion whether if I have both doses done, do I have to go into 6-day quarantine? I have to conduct an RT-PCR test. I just don't know. There are a lot of vague things which I have to understand.
Well, you have to be in by October 10th, arrive by 10th, 11th to have your 6 days, which means you'll be out by the 17th, the first game of the 19th. So there's
because I'm getting conflicting reports. Some are saying, no, you don't need to be in quarantine. Some are saying you have to be. I don't know who to believe in.
Well, I can't imagine you not being in quarantine, to be honest with you. I can't see how you would not be.
The rules are stricter in Abu Dhabi. It's much more stricter. In Dubai, it's a little bit more relaxed in Dubai.
And of course, isn't Oman the first games?
I've left out Oman. I don't think I'll have the capability to do most of the things, but I'm trying. Fingers crossed. Let's hope. Let's hope everything works out. I just hope.
Yeah. All right. So let's see if there's any other discussions here, whether we're seeing. So Ishant Sharma looks almost
Yep.
certain.
I think Ishant is out, and I think we may see someone else in looking at it.
Okay.
But will they rest Bumrah? What
Well,
would you do as a
Ashwin
captain, Norman?
They're saying there's an Ashwin update, and they're saying he's bowling on his own while the main group started stretching. Shastri wants and had a quiet word with him before the huddle. I'm not sure what that means. Looks unlikely that Presidio not even in the main group. So as we expected, he wouldn't be there. So isn't it
let's
great?
see,
I mean, this conjecture of watching people running around before the game and assuming whether they're in or not, it's quite funny, really.
Makes up for a lot of intrigue. Yep.
It does.
So,
I wonder, but it's a bit annoying, a little bit annoying. I think that they do that. I don't know whether they really gain anything from doing that. I'm just now looking
remember, Norman, if I told you, I mean, see, this would have added a bit more intrigue if my suggestion would have been taken that you cover the entire pitch right until the toss. After the toss is done, teams are announced, unveil the pitch. It will, I'm telling you, it will reveal such a big mindset change. It will develop so much of intrigue. Cricket will be transformed totally by these basic minor changes.
I'm just trying to.
Anderson should be rested and come back for the Old Trafford test. With England 1-1 at this point in time. One of the comments. Anderson should be rested and come back for the Old Trafford test. But he's not playing any other things. He's got a 2-month break after this. Why would he?
No, I don't think he
They can't afford to
play. He'll want to play every single game he can because, as you said, this could be. No, I don't think there's any hope of him being rested. I think he's going to play full tilt, especially if this is. I don't think it's his last series. He's not the sort of player to give up easily, is it? Really?
Indeed.
So Sadat saying that Ali and Root are the two England spinners. Root's been given too much credit, I think.
Yeah.
Again, Jadeja was a player that was injured in the last Test match. There's no doubt that he came off injured. I don't think he went back on. So that's the only injury claim. There was no evidence of Shami or anyone else holding any injury, but we just don't know.
Yep.
So Puranjay Sachdeva says that the only two bowlers have got Root out. That's Ashwin and Bumrah. So why remove them? Why not play Ashwin? It's true. Ashwin and Bumrah, if they're the only ones that have got Root out, then you should have them in the side, for God's sake, because Root is the major stumbling block for.
Because now he's got 2 records coming up, Joe Root. 2 records. One is most number of runs in a calendar year against one opponent. He's
against one opponent.
Against one opponent. That's 974 that Bradman made against England in 1930. Root is 875 against India in the same year. But the technicality is that John did it in just one series. Root has done it in 2 series, plus more games.
So Bradman did it in 1 series, 974.
Yeah.
That's enormous. That's just shows the extreme nature of his ability, really, honestly. And for his record still to be...
And even with big bats, flat pitches, small outfields, the closest anyone has ever come to is 973 by Virat Kohli, but in 16 matches of the IPL. No one has even ever come close to the great man.
But let's go back to his bat for a moment. That bat was like a toothpick. It was so thin, very hard though, very hard bat. It had a very strong, hard base to it. But what a player! I mean, he wasn't renowned for his sixes, I must say, but his cut and pull shots were. I would still argue the best cutter and best puller in the world ever was Bradman. and driver for that matter as well. And why do people even try to not or try to compare against him and try and say, oh, Coley's close or Smith's close? They're not. They're just simply not. I mean, even with all the ability of Smith and Coley put together, their batting averages are never above 60. 99.94 is 39 to 40 runs more than anyone has ever gone close. It's not even worth going there. And as I always say, he's the most celebrated statistically of any sportsman ever on any generation of any sport.
Yep. And
we'll never forget that. Overton did well, and Overton's not going anywhere, I think, really. I think Wokes will be in, and it'll be Curran will go first.
Curran will
if it's going to be, if it's going to be anyone. But okay. Chicheshwar Pujara is speaking to Sky. I'm not sure what that means anything, but they're looking at every signal possible out there. If anyone nods to anyone else says hello, put it this way, there are no caps being given out. And if Sky had been selected, he would have been given a cap. If Krishna had been selected, he would have been given a cap. And in England's case, there's no one getting a cap. So there's nobody getting given a berth in this match. New, that is.
No. So, yeah, I think it'll be one change, as we had mentioned. I think that'll be the only change, potentially. Wokes in for Curran for England. Maybe Ashwin in for Ishant. Maybe.
You'd have to say yes. You'd have to say yes.
But with Virat Kohli, you just don't know. I mean, his horses for courses, his stability, everything is questioned. With just one result, everything falls apart. It's like you built a grand base. Your tower is incredibly beautiful, but your base is pretty shallow. That seems to be the case with Virat Kohli. When one result goes awry, everything collapses. Unfortunate, very unfortunate. Because see, numbers-wise, results-wise, can you counter the Kohli Shastri tenure? I don't think so. No. Number-wise, they are the best that we have ever had. Especially Ravi Shastri's man management skills. Brilliant.
They're gonna miss him. If he goes from the squad, they're gonna miss him horridly. It'll really change the dynamics, I think, quite a bit, because he would have been a real he'd be listened to, respected from both. Definitely Kohli had a lot of respect for Shastri. And look, the man has played Test cricket against we belted Shane Warne in his first Test match, didn't he? Got 100 against him, which
200.
200. Was it 200? In fact, sorry, yeah. Kunal answers Virat is too arrogant. I firmly believe Virat Kohli is not arrogant. He's very confident, but he's not arrogant. The way that the classic for me was
passionate.
When
he's passionate.
Against I saw Virat Kohli through the week. I've said it many times where he interviewed Viv Richards, and the level of respect he showed for Viv Richards. And when Viv made any comments that said, "Oh, you're good, Virat," he got almost bashfully, blushed. And there's no way that Kohli is arrogant, because if he was arrogant, he would have thought, "I'm just as good as."
Kohli values Test cricket more than all the other formats. He really values it. You give him a choice between a T20 or an ODI or a Test, Virat will always choose a Test, because he believes that is the firmest examination of your playing.
So, how old is Kohli now? Because I checked before and I saw Rohit Sharma's 34.
He will turn 33 this year.
Right.
He will turn 33.
Okay. So, I mean, really, I would argue that Kohli's got anywhere up to 2 or 3 years of short form left in him before he's going to have to make a decision as to the longevity of his Test career by forgoing his short form. I'm assuming that's what he's going to do, because I mean, he may not do that. He may play all till he's 40, but
it will be difficult because Kohli is nursing a long-term injury. What is the nature of that injury? Whether it's a back injury or anything, we don't know. But it is a long-term injury. He's been nursing because the power and the style of his play has been such that he said, if I can play till 34, 35, it'll be awesome. All three formats, that is. It'll be a miracle if it happens. That is the nature that he said in 2017. But the lean patch, I would like to say again, guys, statistically, if you go deeper down the numbers, Kohli in ODIs averages 43, even in this lean patch. That is just one below Sachin Tendulkar's all-time high. In T20I, since that patch, he averages 71, for crying out loud, 71, with a strike rate of 130. It's in tests that he's gotten exposed, but come on. He still averages over 50. Come on. Can't be
Bumrah
that
and
critical.
Siraj are marking out their run-ups. So Bumrah and Siraj are in.
Bumrah, Siraj, Shami in, Ashwin in, Jadeja in. I feel now that has become even more concrete.
All right. So
I feel that should be the ideal 11.
well, there's discussion about Shami and Ishant are doing so-called fitness drills. They're not setting up run-ups, and there's a chance that Umesh and Shardul will be in. I can't imagine if Shami and Ishant are out, Shardul and Umesh can't come in, and Ashwin. I think that would be unlikely unless Jadeja's not playing. This is a real pulsating, palpitating moment here. We don't know what's going on. And they've been very close chested, but it seems the emphasis is all about the bowlers, nothing on the batsmen. No one's making any comment about the batsmen not playing. So I think there's going to be no changes in the top 6.
Yeah.
The bowlers where the change will be made. I just hope. I mean, Bumrah and Siraj, for God's sake, 9 and 8 wickets respectively in the first 2. You wouldn't even contemplate not having them in the side. So it's just gone 7:30, or at least 30 minutes before kickoff. There's been no rain delays. We should see a toss happening.
Yeah, toss in 2 minutes.
Where do you see that?
So, yeah, it's 3 p.m. 3:30 p.m. IST is the match. So 3 o'clock will be the toss. 3 p.m. IST. It'll happen now.
Yeah, I'm just going to see what I've got in the evidence of a change of side.
Well, let's see who wins the toss, because that is the most important thing. Because you have to bat first at the Oval. You have to bat first.
Yeah. Okay, I actually have the team sheets. You want to hear it?
Yes, I've got it. Even I've also got it.
Okay.
Kohli,
So
Rohit,
Sharma,
Rahul, Yeah.
You read it.
Yeah. Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul, Cheteshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, Rishabh Pant, Shardul Thakur, Ravindra Jadeja, Umesh Yadav, Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj. So no Mohammad Shami in the team. And no Ishant.
Nor Ishant Sharma, but no Ashwin.
No Ashwin.
Wow, that's a shock.
Shami probably injured. He didn't go full tilt at Leeds. That's the
England have brought in Ollie Pope for Butler. Chris Wokes is in for Curran. Owen and Robertson Anderson stay. So Curran and Butler are out. Both Pope and Wokes are in. But India have not. I can't believe it. They haven't put Ashwin in. That is a fair income shock to me. I don't understand that. I really don't. I do not understand that.
But
so
again, I think the pitch.
Sorry,
I think they have looked at the pitch. There is a covering of grass, and that could be a dilemma because you'll do a fair bit on the first day. But spin will be a factor later on. So are they just relying on Jadeja totally? Yeah, England are bowling. England have chosen to bowl. Overcast, green wickets.
England won the toss. England won the toss, you're saying?
Yep, England have chosen to bowl. England have chosen to bowl at the Oval. Green grass, bit of overcast conditions. Wokes Anderson together, along with Overton and Robinson.
So
yes.
Okay. So explain to me, would Root have known that Ashwin wasn't in the side when he made the toss? Would Root have known that Ashwin was not in the side? He must have.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, because when you announce the 11 or when you have a murmur of 11, you don't play according to which one bowler comes. I think you just go by the team composition and you just go ahead with it. I don't think he would have known. But then means Ashwin is not playing in the entire series then, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Because you don't play two spinners in Manchester. You don't play that.
No. I would argue that I'd say Ashwin was bitterly disappointed. Wouldn't you?
I am again confounded. I mean, a guy who's taken over 400 wickets, you just leave him out.
I'm shocked.
I mean, it's like leaving out Glenn McGrath because the conditions are suiting a spinner, and he's got 500 wickets.
Do that.
McGrath. Would you do that? No chance.
No, I'm completely gobsmacked.
So no Shami, no Shami, and no Ishant. So Shardul might get Root out cheaply. Maybe that is the only silver lining in this case. But
so the bringing in of Krishna to the squad, it was merited, because if they must have had an awareness that Shami was not fit.
Yeah.
It must have been
niggles.
Because
Kohli has confirmed Ishant and Shami have niggles. He said at the toss.
What did he say?
Ishant and Shami have niggles.
Have niggles. Okay.
Yep, niggles.
It's still remarkable. If you're losing two of your bowlers like that, you would still factor in Ashwin, wouldn't you? Oh, I'm quite shocked.
Yeah. But again, so does that mean Bumrah plays all 5 tests, then he plays the IPL, and then he plays the World T20? Wow. That will take some doing. That will really take some doing. I hope his fitness holds up. I really pray that his fitness holds up. That's all I can say in case of that.
Certainly the biggest thing about this selection is no Ashwin. That's the big one for me.
Yeah, no
Wokes
Ashwin.
in, Curran out, Pope in, Butler out was expected.
Yep.
Ishant out was expected. But certainly not Sharma. We didn't know. And no Ashwin. I'm absolutely gobsmacked at that.
Yep.
Nobody predicted that. No one predicted. No one predicted that Ashwin wouldn't play. The first selection was always going to be Ashwin in. Incredible.
Yeah. Yes. So all the dinkum of the toss, whatever has happened, I think we got it mostly wrong on the Indian side. We got it right on the England side. I got it totally wrong on the Indian side. I'm sorry, I have got it totally wrong.
On the England side,
we predicted it right. On the Indian side, Virat Kohli's team, we got it. I got it totally wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one that I would ever say would have predicted that Umesh Yadav and Thakur would be included in the side, other than injury, which is what has happened. But certainly, Ashwin would have been the first person to side it. I'm a little bit gobsmacked.
Yeah, but again, 413 wickets. You don't play an entire series against England, against whom you want to win after 14 years.
But as you said, that they can't. If they select him for the 5th test, that makes no sense at all, because this was the pitch out of the 5 that they have to pick. And if they're not going to select him on a pitch which will probably favour pace bowling more, then they made that mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, Samanth Shastri made a good point. I agree with Kohli of not playing Ashwin there. It has to be a plan discussed. If they've discussed a plan that says that they wanted a heavily weighted bowling attack of fast bowlers or swing bowlers or seam bowlers, And Jadeja was always selected as an all-rounder. As with a spinning option, they had 2 all-rounders, Ashwin included, and they can only pick 1 all-rounder, then that template can't be broken. Does that make sense? But what they're saying is that,
frankly, the words template, plan, and all this is like really. I don't know what to make sense of this. I really don't know.
no,
Yes,
it's a bit
maybe
hard.
for like, maybe like for like, Shami and Thakur for pacers. Instead of a pacer, you don't take in a spinner. Maybe like for like replacement. Maybe that is the plan. A like for like.
Yeah, I think
Because see, Shami is hit the deck. Umesh is also swing and hit the deck. Shardul's hit the deck. I don't know. I really have no idea what to.
And the fact that England have chosen to bat first, why would they have done that, considering the advantage they had with India batting first the previous test and getting belted out of the do England consider their bowling attack weaker?
No, I think they want to utilize the overhead conditions in the green wicket first. Possibly aim for India getting bowled out for a cheap score again.
Oh, sorry, I'm now getting confused. So England are bowling, so India are batting, correct? Okay.
India are
batting. My apologies. So I'll reverse that. It is the right decision. They're actually replicating the previous match. So actually, sorry, I had this stupid thought. No, they're replicating the previous match.
But Norman, in the previous match, Virat Kohli did both. He batted and he bowled on the same day.
Well, did you see that great?
So
winning, great graphic. It was a great graphic saying, "I've elected to bat and bowl on the first day."
Yes. So the toss didn't make much of a factor in Leeds. He got both, and he failed in both, unfortunately.
Well, it was the worst first day of the Test match that India's had in a long time. They haven't played that badly on the first day of a Test match for quite some time. So that's the intriguing side.
I guess 1952, I would go back to 1952. Fred Truman, 4 wickets, India 8 for 4. No, why not Old Trafford? 2014, first day, India 8 for 4 again. Anderson and Broad just swinging it like it's on a pendulum.
So Virat Kohli would have bowled first if he won the toss, which shows he didn't like the result of his first effort, like last time when he won the toss. And he said the 2-day no Ashwin still. England has 4 left-handers. So a good matchup for Jadeja with our seamers bowling over the wicket also factors in these balancing numbers. So Kohli's defended no Ashwin by saying that England has 4 left-handers and that suits Jadeja, which I thought was the other way around. And also factors in the batting at number 7s. So balance number 7. So he's continuing to ignore the fact that Ashwin actually bowls well with left-handers, and also the fact that Jadeja's batting.
Ashwin not bowling well to left-handers. I can't believe the statement. I just can't. If you look at Ashwin's top 15 batsmen summary, 14 of them are left-handed. 14. He's gotten 14 left-handers out the most number of times. And who's the one right-hander who he's gotten out the most number of times? Steve Smith. Oh God, I can't believe the statement. Like, it suits Jadeja more. I mean, come on. I'm now gobsmacked beyond comprehension. I'm gobsmacked. I can't believe that this has been said.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, it was a big cheer when Root said they're bowling.
Yeah.
There's big cheers about that. The reality is, okay, there's been a bit of discussion about the deck being hard despite being crumbly, being a spinner's wicket. They're saying it's hard, and it may suit Yadav and Thakur. Well, that may be the case, but Shami's been not selected because he was injured. They're saying Isham Sharma is not playing because of an injury rather than being dropped. And you'd have to argue that more now because that's, I don't know. I'm very disappointed with Ashwin not being in the side. I cannot understand that at all.
Yeah, I mean,
But then
your
but
disappointment
then,
is being shared by many
Coley,
other people, Norman.
but then Coley has said that he would have bowled first, which means that he never intended to use the potential of the last innings performance by Ashwin. Okay, which is where if you had Ashwin aside, you would probably bat first anyway. So again, let me go back to this. Are you saying that Root had no idea about Ashwin's non-selection and would have still chosen to bowl first had Ashwin been
Irrespective of
inside?
the conditions, because
Okay.
he knew the
All right.
conditions. So that is why. But Behram is saying Kohli never mentioned that Jadeja is better against left-handers. Ashwin was not mentioned at all. That's what Behram's saying.
Well, they're saying that no Ashwin still. That wasn't the quote of Virat Kohli. That was not his quote. His quote was, England have 4 left-handers, so a good matchup for Jadeja. With our seamers bowling over the wicket, also factors in his balance at number 7. The opening punch has been amazing for us. It's about getting together as batsmen. A few days left on the tour. The series is poised beautifully and no shortage of effort for sure. So he's concentrated on the openers doing well, and the Jadeja is there because he bowls well as left-handers over the wicket and adds balance in the batting at number 7. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yep.
I have to argue that there's something not right there. There's something not right that Ashwin's not playing. Well, why did you bring him on tour at all? I'm joking, but if they had, they could have brought another fast bowler into the lineup. If they were thinking about, if they were not playing Ashwin the entire tour, then they could have brought another fast bowler in.
Yep.
But, there's something. But look, we could be today both Rahul and lots on Rahul's and Rohit Sharma's shoulders. If they can get off to an excellent batting start, which they've done in previous tests, except for last test, the first 2 tests they batted very well, didn't they?
Yep.
I don't believe Kohli's arrogant, and Ashwin was there for the WTC. Yeah, but we expect Root to hit a century. Christian, so I have to agree that, for God's sake, there's no one in the bowling lineup that's going to scare Root, is there really? Maybe Bumrah, but if that's if Bumrah's on song, and it putting increased pressure on Bumrah actually, because without Sharmi, so they'll open the bowling with Yadav, will they? I guess they will.
Yep. Yadav and Bumrah, and then Shardul first change. Second change Shardul, third change Siraj. Or maybe because Umesh bowls a lot better with the old ball, perhaps Siraj and Bumrah.
We're not going to find that out for a while. Well, sorry, we may find that out today, mightn't we? Hopefully not.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, but I just got to take a break. I mean, this team selection has confounded me totally.
I think Paranjay has said that right. Kohli is wrong. Ashwin is the best bowler against left-handers. I agree with him totally. And for him to have to discuss the reason is intriguing. I think there's no way, Siddharth, there's no way that Ashwin's sitting there happy at the moment. I mentioned the concept of toss teams tantrums. Well, the toss has been made. England won the toss and elected the bowl. The teams, Ashwin's not in. The tantrum is squarely with Ashwin. He would be not a happy chappy. There's no way. Ashwin not playing 4 test matches in a row, sitting there warming up the bench. I find that incredible, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, 413 wickets, not getting an automatic selection in the side. Very, very surprising. Very, very surprising.
Yeah, Tim's got a bit of a Root's not exactly excited. It's a good timing. Gil has joined us, and Siddharth's going to be leaving. So,
indeed, hi Gil.
Gil.
Hi. There's some telepathy between me and Sid. I feel whenever he's about to leave, I am able to join. I don't want
Yeah.
to
Actually,
give this. I don't want to lay out the secret, but I think it's time that I let people know that we we do it as a matter of planning because we feel that why should two people be at the brunt of Norman's Norman's charm. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
well, look, thanks for joining, Gil,
Gil,
and
what about the
Siddharth, thanks for
team?
joining as
What about
well.
the team? Yeah.
What
Team
do you think,
selection.
Gil? What do you think about quickly about Ashwin not
Very
being
very
selected?
very disappointed
Disappointing.
because I'll put it very simply. Uh, Amongst all the bowlers that India are playing in the 11, Ashwin's probably better than all of them except for Bumrah. And whatever bowling that India has been playing, he's better than two of the pacers that India anyway play. One is Bumrah, the other is Shami or Ishan, and that is also sometimes forms conditions applied because Shami is known to be inconsistent sometimes, and Ishant was off rhythm. So there is no way that Ashwin shouldn't have been playing. And even if you wanted an all-rounder at number 8, Ashwin's a better bet than someone like Shardul Thakur purely because if you look at it, Shardul's Shardul's batting average is 16 in first class cricket. Ashwin's batting average is 28. Ashwin has 500s and 11 50s. Shardul has 750s in first class cricket. So I don't know how do you call Shardul an all-rounder and don't call Ashwin an all-rounder. And yeah, I mean, it's now defying some sense. India might still win it, but you need to still question the playing 11 regardless of the results. And this is a very risky combination that Virat Kohli has gone for because Siraj, Umesh, and Shardul. It's a combination of inexperience plus inconsistency. Umesh has experience, but we know why he's not been successful outside of India is because he's lacked the control and consistency. So this might work for India. I'm not saying that it may not because Umesh will also be hungry to prove himself. He's been out for so long. He's been out since the Melbourne Test, but it is still flaunting with a lot of risk because yeah, like I said, you need control. There are going to be periods in this Test match at Oval where batting will be very very easy. In those periods, you can't really expect both Shardul and Umesh to bowl with a certain amount of consistency because they are not known to do that. If they do, well and good. That would really mean that the luck is in India's favor. But it's a very disappointing call, and it's harsh to it's difficult to justify it at this point of time. And I feel if the backlash becomes louder, considering India lose this Test match in the next 4 or 5 days, then the criticism will be quite genuine because I think Kohli's made a mistake, regardless of how the result comes in. Because someone can play a blinder, or England could play poorly than what India have done, but it still remains a mistake. Dropping Ashwin is a mistake, as simple as that.
Indeed.
Absolutely right, Gil. Siddharth, thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you either post-match or over the next few days, hopefully for the good
I'll try
result
for
for India.
pre-match. I can't come for the post-match normally.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well,
I'll
pre-match
come for the
tomorrow,
pre-match.
hopefully.
I'll try for the pre-match.
Norman, he has two kids to look after. You have to keep that into account.
And make that 3 if it includes me.
Yeah, thanks,
Well,
Gil. Thanks, Norman.
well. I see
Take care.
you've learned some self-depreciating humor in the last 6 months. Good to see that. Very good to see that.
Oh,
Bye.
God.
Bye,
See you,
guys.
Siddharth.
Bye,
See you,
bye.
Siddharth.
See you. Bye. Bye, Gil. Bye.
Bye bye.
Now, Gil, I wanted your opinion. It was comments were made to me off air that I shouldn't be live when the game starts. If I'm not showing visuals or audio of the game, what's wrong with me talking about the game while the game's on? Do you know of anything? Do you know? Are you aware of anything there?
It's a very personal and a subjective call. There are some people who'd I know of some people who watch the TV on mute because they don't like the commentary that is happening, and then they are side by side listening to some podcast which is commentating on the game. Purely personal.
We've lost you. Can you hear me, Gil? We've lost Gil for the moment.
I
Maybe
think
he's
it's a
on
very
some mute.
yeah. I can yeah. No, I've come back. There was a call that came in between, so I had to cut it, and my net went away.
Okay.
So I'm saying that's a very
Okay.
subjective call. There are some people who will enjoy listening to some other podcast when a game is going on, and there are some people who want to be absolutely focused towards watching the action on screen. So yeah, I think if you like it, you should do it. If you don't like it, you shouldn't do it. It's as simple as that. Anyone who wants to drop off can anyway drop off. You're not holding someone ransom by saying no, no, you have to stay. So yeah, it's a very subjective and a personal call, which I don't think should be debated much in any sense.
So what you're saying is I should continue. I can continue if I
If
choose
you
to.
if you li- if you like it, then for sure, because it's your channel. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
you are uh, within your full right to continue that. But if you feel that it's not worth the effort because people are dropping out, then you can choose to not do it. But it's completely your call.
Well, what I've done today, Gil, is I've actually only allowed subscribers to make the actual comments on the side here. Only subscribers can make comments. So all the people who are not subscribers can't make comments, which is it. I'm trying that because it
I can
gets
hear
rid of
you.
the spammers.
Just hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Norman, can you speak? I missed your question.
Okay, I said that I've adjusted my comment section to only allow people that are subscribers to make comments. So anyone that's not a subscriber cannot make comments.
Oh,
Which
that's that.
because that's
I'm
actually
not sure
stopped
what to
people.
what to say.
Well, okay, you can have anyone making comments on the chat line, right? The chat line, anyone. You can also adjust it to be only subscribers are allowed to make comments. And by me just having subscribers make comments, it's got rid of all the spam messages. Interesting.
Well,
It's
I
an
think you
interesting
can.
observation.
I think you can afford to do that considering you have a lot of subscribers. Someone like me who only has around 500 subscribers, I don't think I can afford to do that. So yeah, I think if
No,
it
but
makes sense to you, if you think it actually helps you filter out all the spam comments, then might as well do it. I don't see a problem with that.
I'm giving it a go. I haven't made a decision yet, but I'm giving it a go. So Colin
I
made a
see.
mistake by not taking Manu John, who's obviously a subscriber, and Arnold Ingle is also Ashwin, not required on this graveyard for spinners. Well, I find that hard to believe. Colin made a
I
mistake by
think he's
not
being
taking
I think
cheeky.
I think
He's
he was
being
being
cheeky.
sarcastic. Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
he definitely was. Of course he was. There's no doubt it's going to prove to be a mistake. I'm afraid. I don't think they have Umesh Yadav and Tuckle come into the side to bowl will actually strengthen the Indian bowling at all as much. And I think that, well, at this stage, England will be batting with a great deal of confidence.
So the one thing that goes in Umesh's favor is that if this pitch is closer to what it is in India, or the typical continental track, then Umesh's record is second to none. He averages very good in India. I think he averages under 25 if I'm not wrong, and the average comes to around 20 if you look at the last 3 or 4 years. I'm not sure of the exact numbers. So yeah, I think Umesh might still be a good call, but if they really wanted a all-rounder at number 8, like I said, it makes no sense to play Shardul over Ashwin. I really find it hard to believe, and I've been saying this
Yeah.
since the World Test Championship, that Ashwin's not a conditions applied bowler. We saw what he did in the World Test Championship, where he bowled better than many of the Indian pacers. So I really, it's becoming very difficult to fathom actually as to what is the discussion that might be going in the change room, because you're dropping someone who's taken more than 400 wickets now. Uh, so yeah, it's like I've been saying, it's not making any sense to me. Maybe there's something that I'm missing, or maybe the team management knows a thing or two. Maybe Umesh is bowling a lot of Jaffas, So is Shardul doing the same in the nets? But yeah, we don't know what is happening in the net. So we have to comment on what we have in front of us, which are the numbers and what we have seen before. So yeah, it's a difficult thing to accept and fathom as of now.
Okay. Let's just think about this quickly though. It basically means that Ashwin will probably set up the entire 5-test series and not play a test match because he's unlikely to come back for the 5th test match. That's even more fast or medium fast bowling friendly. He's unlikely to play that match either, which basically means he's not going to play any test match. I can't even comprehend Ashwin sitting out an entire 5-test series. Can you? It's hard to imagine.
Yes, especially after how he bowled in Australia, especially after how he had bowled with the pink ball in Adelaide, or especially how he had bowled on day one in MCG. Like I'm saying, these are probably the two toughest tests for any spinner to bowl with the pink ball, which is designed to help the seamers and still take 4 wickets in an innings. Also be the highest wicket taker, and then day one MCG. Norman, you know that it's probably one of the flattest opportunities that you get to bat in Australia, and still bowl so well and be dropped like this is unfortunate. Yeah, I really don't know. But I think if Ashwin now is caught, which reflects his body language, I think for to allow him that space where he's at least expressing his disappointment, because I feel he has every right to.
Yeah, it's look. I hope India do well. We certainly both do, I'm sure. But it's just a matter of they're going to cop one hell of a backlash if they lose this test handsomely. They're going to be quickly saying,
I just want to I just want to put something out for the viewers. Ashwin averages less than Shami in England. At least that was the case before the series began. He was averaging less than Mohammad Shami in England. That might still be the case if I'm not wrong. So yeah, like I said, he's probably the second best bowler that we have in the squad after Bumrah. And if you account for the conditions and say these are conditions to swing his bowling, I think that he probably becomes the third best bowler. There's no way he's not better than Siraj, Umesh, or Shardul, or Avesh Khan, or Prasidh Krishna. So yeah, it's incredibly disappointing to see him. I know I've said this 5 times in the last 15 minutes because, but yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm usually the kind who's backing Virat to be the captain, and who has obvious another theory to support what Virat's doing. But it's a struggle to justify this decision. It's yeah,
he's one of
yeah,
the
and
best bowlers in the world at the moment. So there's absolutely no reason why he's not. He should be almost the first bowler picked. Really, I can't comprehend this. I'm sorry. I think they've made a huge mistake. Huge mistake.
yeah.
So Kohli's problem really is batters 3, 4, 5. Although they're a bit better off with 3, but really even 6 with punt. This is a big opening over here from both Rohit Sharma and Rahul. I hope they both do well.
Also,
They've
one
been
thing,
great.
one
A
thing,
lot of time with both of them actually.
one thing that I want to add over here is that England have done the right thing by dropping Sam Curran. They've made themselves stronger both with the bat and both with the ball. Because I know Sam Curran had a freak series back in 2018, but if you look at the numbers and if you look at the respective techniques of someone like Chris Wokes as opposed to Sam Curran, you would know that Chris Wokes is a better batsman, and we know what Chris Wokes is capable of doing with the ball. So he's definitely an upgrade in that sense. So Indian batsmen are not going to have it easy in this test match.
So just quickly, where can the match be watched? The person not in the UK or India, where are you? Because it's got to be by some cable channel, I'd say. In Australia, it's Foxtel. We've got that in Foxtel, of course. But yeah, it's not much. It's yeah. Okay. What to expect from Pujara and Rahane? They're going to have a huge amount to expect from them. But no, let's take a step back from Pujara and Rahane. It's the openers that have to be the ones. They're the driving engine of this team at the moment. When the openers do well, they make it a better performance. Okay, I think now on the basis skill of what we talked about earlier, I better be careful for this moment not to encroach on the live coverage. The fact that I'm not talking about the match, I need to get a conclusive answer from those that are in powers to see whether I can do it. I don't want to have my channel ruined by going live now if I'm not supposed to. So I'm going to have to unfortunately end the show now, which is a bit disappointing. But thanks again, Gil. I really appreciate your time, guys. Anil Ingel and Baram and Suman and Vincent, I'll have to end the show now with Rahul and Rohit coming into bat, and I'll sort out that whether I can be live later on. But guys, thank you for viewing. We've had a great almost 2 hours worth of discussion. Thank you, Gil, for joining us. Gil, can you come post-show or pre-show tomorrow?
I'll try pre-show tomorrow. I'm not sure of where I'll be when the post-match show comes on. If I'm at home, then I'll try and join. If I'm not, then I'll let you know.
Well, people missed you severely yesterday in my full pre-show. They were going, "Where is Gil?" Blah blah blah. So you're well and truly missed.
So yesterday, I was not at home. I was working somewhere, and the internet connection was poor as well. Because then I've tried to join from a car or from my workplace, but yesterday there was no such possibility. So yeah.
No worries. All right, Gil. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Your time has been always good. So
Yeah.
I'll talk to you tomorrow, hopefully with the pre-show. I'll have a lot to talk about.
Sure.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye.
Ciao. All right, everyone. So I'm switching off the game now. We're not talking about the game as such. We know what the situation. England have actually won the toss and elected to bowl. Ashwin is not on the side. It's quite a disappointment for those that wish Ashwin to be in the side. Mashadov and, of course, Thakur have been included with Ishan Sharma out, with Sharmi both being apparently suffering from niggles or injuries. And ultimately, England have got Chris Wokes in for Curran, and, of course, Ollie Pope has come in for the place of Butler with Bairstow keeping. So there we go. Why not? Well, I'm going to confirm whether I'm allowed to be live. I'm not even showing the visual of the game, nor am I showing any form of commentary of the game. So I'm not taking away any of the rights from Sonny, but we're best leaving it at this point, guys. So both Sumanth, Shastri, and everyone, I've been on for 2 hours now, guys. I'll try and what I might do is I'll come back at lunchtime. We'll see how we go, but definitely post the game, post the show. I'll be on then as well. So all the best, guys. Take care, and we'll see each other very shortly in the post-match game, post-game. So good luck to India.